They tried to throw me out of the delivery room while my wife was fighting for her life. Can you even imagine that I was standing there blocked by a rent-a-cop with his arms crossed while the HOA president waved her clipboard like it was the Constitution? My wife was screaming my name from behind the door, and I was told I wasn't authorized to be present at the birth of my own child. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just a neighborhood dispute, it was war. My name's Marcus Reeve. I'm not a lawyer, not a politician, not even someone who loves confrontation. I'm a systems security auditor. I hunt down data manipulation loopholes and cover-ups for a living. You'd think that has nothing to do with a quiet suburban community in Virginia, but you'd be wrong. Because when the wrong person gets power in a homeowners association, those little rules turn into weapons. And the woman at the top of ours, Judith Weller, believed she was untouchable. It started small. We planted lavender near the porch, unauthorized planting violation notice $45. I put together a crib for my daughter in the garage. Apparently the drill at 7:15 p.m. was mechanical noise after hours violation number 2. The porch light was too bright. The trash can was 3 inches off the curb line. A new notice hit our mailbox every week like clockwork. At first I just paid. It wasn't worth the fight. My wife Selena was pregnant, and the last thing I wanted was stress. But it never stopped. It escalated. One night, months before the birth, Selena fainted in the kitchen. I called 911. The ambulance sat at the gate while her blood pressure dropped because the HOA's system flagged us as non-compliant. The paramedics had to force the gate open. Judith later claimed the system glitched. Sure, a glitch that almost killed my wife. That's when I started watching them. See, I can't turn off the part of my brain that reads systems like other people read road signs. When they installed their shiny new community compliance network, I mirrored it. Harmless, passive metadata logging. Just curiosity at first. But what I found, it was worse than I expected. Every time a violation was issued, there was a spike of late-night activity from Judith's account. Timestamps didn't match. Data looked altered. But I didn't confront her, not yet. I figured maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe paranoia is just what happens when you stare at too many audit trails. Then came the night of labor. Selena's water broke and she was high-risk placenta previa. We needed that hospital. The EMTs loaded her into the ambulance, but the gate wouldn't open again. They smashed it just to get through. She was bleeding, drifting in and out. When we finally made it to Memorial Heights Hospital, I thought the nightmare was over. I was wrong. There she was. Judith. HOA pin on her blazer clipboard tucked under her arm, lips pursed like she was doing me a favor. She told the guard I wasn't authorized to enter the maternity wing because our transport violated curfew. A curfew. For an emergency. I felt my blood freeze. My wife's voice muffled through the door calling for me. And this woman, this paper tyrant, telling me my presence was against policy. I argued, of course I did. Told her this wasn't an HOA matter, this was life and death. She smirked. Policy is policy. For a second I honestly thought about shoving past the guard, but then a nurse slipped out and whispered, "She's asking for you. We're prepping for an emergency C-section." The guard still wouldn't move. Judith still smiled. And God, I felt it for the first time, helplessness. Real suffocating helplessness. I ended up outside on a bench, fists balled, my chest hollow. That bench wasn't just wood. My father carved it. I proposed to Selena on it. And now it felt like a gravestone for everything I couldn't protect. I remember staring at the hospital lights, asking myself if maybe I was the problem. Maybe I should have just followed their stupid protocols, played nice, begged forgiveness for rules I never broke. Maybe if I had been less defiant, less loud, less willing to push back, my wife wouldn't be lying unconscious on the other side of that door. For a moment, I almost gave in. But then the part of me that audits liars kicked in. I pulled out my laptop. I had the logs, I had the mirror, and I saw it proof that Judith had falsified our gate data. We left at 8:13. She rewrote it to 9:42. She backdated the violation, then used it to justify barring me from the room. That wasn't a glitch. That wasn't policy. That was fraud. And suddenly I wasn't helpless anymore. I cornered Dr. Kelvin Ma, our OB, in the stairwell. Quiet man, honest eyes, but terrified. He admitted the restriction didn't come from the hospital's legal department. It came through an unofficial channel tied to the HOA. They threatened his career if he spoke. He wouldn't give me a statement, not yet, but his silence told me enough. I had leverage. I called my attorney, Vincent. I called my old friend Darlene at Channel 6. We built a wall of pressure overnight. Vincent prepared an injunction. Darlene prepped a segment. And I kept pulling data, every packet trace, every XML file Judith touched. The HOA's arrogance worked against them. They left everything sloppy, thinking no one would ever check. By dawn, I had a full archive of falsified logs edits with her user credentials, even internal notes like force sync timestamp with hospital. When the case hit court the next morning, Judith strutted in like she was hosting a block party. Perfect hair, blue jacket, smug as ever. She thought she'd spin this as a petty dispute, paint me as the hostile neighbor who couldn't follow rules. But she didn't know what I had. The judge, sharp impatient, asked if we had evidence. Vincent nodded. I plugged my laptop into the courtroom projector. The screen lit up. First slide the real gate logs showing 8:13 p.m., then the forged report claiming 9:42. Next, the XML file with Judith's login time-stamped hours after the fact. And then the kicker, the internal comment line in her own words, "Don't use real gate logs." The room went dead quiet. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. The data screamed louder than anything I could say. Judith's smirk cracked. She leaned toward her lawyer, whispering, jaw-tight, eyes darting. The judge leaned forward, glasses low. "Who authored this file?" Vincent answered calmly. "The metadata shows HOA President Judith Weller's credentials. We've traced the login path back to her home IP." And then he handed over Dr. Ma's affidavit, finally signed. The attending physician confirming the override was non-standard, forced through a non-permissive channel created by the HOA. Judith's lawyer tried to object, stall demand more time. The judge cut him off. Request denied. Effective immediately, Fox Ridge Hills HOA is barred from interfering with medical access. This evidence will be referred to digital forensics for investigation. I turned my head just enough to catch Judith's eyes. For the first time since this began, she looked small. The weight of control slipped right off her shoulders. And in that silence, I knew she wasn't in charge anymore. That's where it ended for me. Not with applause, not with celebration, but with the sound of authority collapsing under its own lies. And if there's one thing I learned, it's this. Rules don't protect us when they're written by bullies. They only protect us when we're willing to fight back.